we're going to use our frames that we learned in my last video. This is the one that I had made, and I also antiqued it with the liver of sulfur. And we are now going to make a tree of life with wire. Just wire, no beads. You can always bead this to make leaves. I'll do a video on that at another time, but we're just going to make this simple little tree of life. Isn't it cute? Even had a little knot hole on it. This is super, super easy. You're really going to enjoy this. And so let's go ahead and we're going to get started. Okay, so as I said before in my frame video, I prefer to use pre-antiqued wire at this stage. See, I've already antiqued this, I've polished it, it's all good to go. So now all I have to do is wrap my pre-antiqued wire around it and then just buff up that, and then I'm done. I find that when you do this all from just bare copper wire and then you antique the whole entire piece, I friggin' hate, this is the worst part in the world, can't stand it. I can't stand getting into all the little nooks and crannies trying to get it all out in between all the wires and this whole mess and everything. So this way is much easier, you'll be much happier, and you can just go for it and not have to worry about mixing up any solution. So this is pre-antiqued. I just dropped the whole spool into my solution, my liver of sulfur solution. There wasn't that much wire on it, but if you have a lot of wire on it, see how I don't have some of it isn't antiqued? It doesn't get down through all the layers of wire. But anyway, this worked out well for me. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to cut our wire. Now, I don't need a ruler, but I had a ruler in there just in case you wanted one. So what I've done is I've cut 8 pieces of 24 gauge wire right off the spool. And the way I did that was I took my wire, and there's no magic number on how much you need. There's going to be wastage. Just get used to that. All right, so a fair amount to do because we're going to be twisting all these wires together, so that's going to take up some of the length, so we don't want to short ourselves. So what I do is I just go 3 times, and I just eyeball it. I'm not really big on measuring. I just eyeball. So I want 1, 2, and then 3 here at the end. So then you just cut that off. Use that as your measurement and go ahead and cut yourself 7 more pieces. Or you can do 10. This one has 10 in it. So these 2 wires right here are just branches all by themselves. They didn't get incorporated in any of these other pieces here, just to help fill it in. So you know what? This one is done with 10, so you can see how that looks. Okay, so I'm just going to do one with 8. This one's going to do with 8, and then you can see what that one looks like too. Okay, so I have my 8 wires, and what we're going to do is, so the top here, we need to keep some straight here so that it's easier for us to wrap around, but I'm going to twist all these wires together all the way down practically to the bottom, because what we're going to do is we're going to unwind them, and that's how you get your nice, this is how you get your nice nice crinks and waves and stuff and branch-like shape, and your roots that are all gnarly. I don't like having to go in and twist them afterwards, so this is a great tip to do it beforehand. Okay, so you can either you could take your fingers and you're just going to start twisting. Okay, see how those are all nicely twisted together? Now, if your hands are too weak for this, by all means take a plier and help yourself out. Whichever way you need to hold on to this, you can just take your plier and work it with a plier. 24 gauge is pretty soft, so it's pretty easy to work with. Okay, so we're just going to wrap this. See how nice and smooth that is? Okay, so down at the bottom here, I'm not going to go all the way down to the bottom. Okay, so there, that's what we've got. I've twisted that together. And at this point, we don't really care if you get it all bent up because we're going to go ahead and shape it into a crooked little tree anyway. Okay, so here's what we have. I've just started sort of bending it into some kind of little shape here. Now, here's what you want to do. We need to make sure that we position this just right so that we have some roots, a nice trunk, and then nice branching out tree. When you look at this, you say, that's a tree, right? If we concentrate too much on this, not enough on this, we end up with a shrub. Whoever heard of a tree, a shrub of life? So anyway, we don't want a shrub, we want a nice tree. So the roots are the least thing that you're worried about, okay? So the roots come last. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by just sort of giving it a little bit of shape and kind of placing it on there. Now you see we have lots of wire, but we're going to be separating these wires, and then we're going to be doing the top first, then our trunk, and then our roots will be last. So first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to start unwinding. Just start looking for your outsides here and just start unwinding. Just start unwinding your wires. Go down pretty far too, because we don't, this straight part is more for wrapping, but we may end up cutting that shorter, and we want to get into this good crinkled stuff here. Okay, and always use your, kind of get an idea here of how this is going to look. Okay, see I got way too much wire. We're going to be redoing that part. Oh, yeah, that's way too much wire. Okay. So now we've got this let's just go ahead. We're going to go ahead and undo it some more. Get down into the nitty-gritty. Okay, so now I've split that in two, and now we've split these in two. Now we don't want these to be super long, because remember we have a very small space to fill in, and we don't want to overcrowd it with these limbs. We want branches, right? So there we go. So see, I'm starting to shape it. Okay, so now you want to place it on there. So like so, to get an idea. Now we're going to take and we're going to twist these pairs together, a couple of twists, and then we'll spread them out. We just want to do it enough so that they look like limbs. Oh, isn't that going to be pretty? Yeah, that's fitting in there really nicely. You want to center it. You want to make sure, even though your tree here is bent, you want to make sure that you like the proportion that it's in. Okay? Now, I rather like that. I like where that's at. So, I'm going to go ahead and hold it onto my frame, and I don't need all these wires hanging off the end here. I only need enough to be able to put, like a couple of wraps. So, I'm going to go ahead and just shorten it to about, I don't know, half an inch. Cooper's ringing the bells. He wants out, but it's snowing. That goofy little cat. Okay, so there we go. Now we're just going to take and we're going to start putting these around the frame. And a couple of these are going to go back behind the spirals here. So we're just going to place them in there. Okay. Take another look. And let's start wrapping. There. Now, these look a little straight here, so we can go in and tweak them with our plier. So just go in and give it a little turn. There, look it. My husband makes fun of me because I'm an American living in Canada, and I've always said, look it. And he thinks that's funny because that's not a regular saying around here. Look it. Okay. There's our tree. All right, so now we're going to do our roots. Now we want a little knot hole here. So we're going to unwind these very carefully, and these we want to stay really nice and gnarled, right? So I'm going to give it just a little bit more of a twist. Now, I'm going to find the outermost one, and I'm going to unwind it all the way up to here and cut it very short because we're going to spiral that into our little knot hole. So now we need to find, as we start unwinding this, we want one that's going to go all the way around. I might luck out and get it. There we go. Yes, yay. Okay, so now depending on where your wire lands, see, this is going to go across the front like that. Now you could either do your knot hole coming down if you need it to drop down, or you can go up if you need it to go up higher, depending on where your wire ended up. So we're going to straighten this out, and I'm also going to cut this very short because we don't need a really big, huge, long length of this. So there. That's just a little more than 1/4 of an inch, I think. Now we're going to unwind our roots. So again, just take your time with this. Just get her going. Okay, there we go. Look how cool. Isn't that cool already? I love these. All right, so now just start placing your roots where you want them. Bend your tree. Make sure your tree is bent the way that you want it. You know, it could be bent all the way over there like that, and then your roots can start coming over here. You could do whatever you want with it. If you need a little help in bending it, take your plier and give it a little squeeze. Okay, I think I'll stop messing with it. I think that's good. All right, so now we're just going to wrap our roots around our frame, and we are done. Look how cute that is. Okay, so like these here, I'm going to wrap these together. Just makes life a little bit simpler. And I'm going to cut them. The top of my frame. Making sure there's no jagged edges. I'm going to take my pliers and just give it a little bit of a squeeze. Now, I'll tell you, it probably would have been easier if I would have gone from the center out. That's a good tip. I say that every time I do this. I always say I should start from the inside. Now, we don't need all this wire, so I'm going to go ahead and cut these short. And I'm just going to start wrapping. Okay, make sure you cut that nice and short and not right to the edge, because then you can feel the jagged edge. Just right on top. Go around, make sure you don't feel anything jagged. Look how cute that is. Now you could go in and you can tweak your roots. Okay, now we're going to do our spiral. And where mine is placed, I don't want it to drop way down here, so I'm going to do mine going up in this direction, which means I'm going to make my loop going, and we're going to go in that direction. So we're going to take our fine-tipped round nose. These have really, really fine tips. And I'm just going to start my spiral. I'm going to take it at the tips of my pliers. And I'm just going to start rolling my so there I've got my little loop started, and then I'll just finish it with my chain nose here. I'm just turning it in. There, look how cute. There, what do you think? I think it's pretty cute. No two come out alike. Now we're just going to take our steel wool and we're just going to bump this. Now we're just going to clean up our wires. Okay, so we got that all cleaned up. Now we're going to go in, we're going to take a toothbrush and some water, and we're going to go in and brush over this to get rid of all the little bits and pieces of this. And we're done. Look how cool that is. Do you like it? Look how pretty. Awesome. You guys are going to be cranking these out like crazy. Now you could do these on bigger ones. So this is 24 gauge wire. If you have a bigger frame, you could go up to 22 gauge. And if you're bold enough and you want to do something really big, like for the window or whatever, you can go ahead and use 20 gauge. You start getting heavier than that, it's really hard to work it. It work hardens really quickly. I would suggest that for when you get a little bit more experience working with the wire. But there you go. Our tree of life.